Imagine you're on a commercial flight.
Right.
You're starting your final descent into a really busy airport.
Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, and the pilot sitting in the cockpit, they don't have 20 years of experience. They have like 2.
Oh, wow.
And the veteran pilot who used to fly this exact route, the one who knew every single crosswind and like the weird quirks of the local weather patterns,
Right.
they retired last month. So now you have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with the AI system that's assisting that rookie pilot being, just 80% accurate?
I mean, it is a terrifying scenario when you phrase it exactly like that.
Right.
But it's the exact reality that is currently playing out across global infrastructure. We're looking at this unavoidable collision between human demographics and enterprise artificial intelligence. And I mean, the stakes literally could not be higher.
Which is exactly what we are getting into on today's deep dive. Welcome in, everyone. We are looking at a press release from March 2026 from a company called EON AI Ventures.
Yeah, the release is titled, Unlock the Final 1%. EON AI Ventures solves high-stakes workforce gaps.
Exactly. And our mission today is to explore this massive, honestly terrifying capability gap that high-stakes industries are just desperately trying to bridge. We're talking aviation, energy, advanced manufacturing, healthcare.
The sectors where you really don't want mistakes.
Exactly. And they're trying to bridge this as their most experienced workers head for the exit. And just to give you, the listener, a sense of how big this collision is, let me share a staggering statistic right from the top of this source.
It's a big one.
It really is. 50% of the skilled workforce across these critical sectors is set to retire in the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, half.
Half the people who know how to physically run the world's most complex systems are just about to pack up their desks.
It's just a historic drain of human capital. And it's happening on this incredibly compressed timeline. I mean, 5 to 7 years in corporate or industrial planning.
That's basically tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. You can't simply scramble to fill those roles at the last minute. It's impossible.
Right. And here's the thing, like using generic AI to write an email marketing campaign or draft a polite response to a vendor, that's great.
Sure, it saves time.
Yeah, if it hallucinates a little or gets the tone slightly wrong, you edit it. No big deal. But using generic AI to operate an advanced manufacturing plant or to, like, manage a municipal power grid,
Yeah.
that's where good enough becomes completely terrifying.
That analogy gets right to the core of the problem, really. The source document points out that generic AI solutions, and actually traditional training methods for human workers too, they typically hit about an 80% efficacy rate.
Right.
So they deliver up to 80% of their required outcomes. And traditional corporate training delivers about 80% knowledge retention.
Which sounds fine at first.
Right. In an average office environment, hitting 80% is basically a B-. You pass. You survive.
Yeah, nobody gets hurt over a B- in a spreadsheet.
Exactly. But in the industries EON AI Ventures is targeting here, the margin for error isn't 20%. It is exactly 0%. A B- in an operating room or on an aviation grid is, well, it's a catastrophe.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we really need to investigate exactly why this 20% gap exists in the first place, and why the current massive wave of AI development is failing to cross it. Because if we are losing half our specialized workforce in the next few years, we do not have time for our technology to just be, pretty good.
Yeah, moving from the theoretical danger of that 80% accuracy down to the reality on the ground, we have to look at what the press release calls the demographic time bomb.
The demographic time bomb.
Yeah, this isn't a future problem. It's an urgent, immediate crisis right now. The source outlines the raw facts pretty clearly. Generic AI delivers 80% outcomes.
Okay.
Traditional training delivers 80% retention. So that leaves a 20% gap.
Yeah.
And in high-stakes operations, that 20% gap translates directly to unacceptable risks.
Like what, specifically?
Costly operational errors, severe safety incidents, and frankly, potentially, the loss of human life.
Wow. But, the press release also notes something that feels kind of like a paradox to me.
How so?
Well, it says the pace of AI-driven enterprise transformation is moving so fast that it's actually outpacing traditional workforce upskilling.
Right.
But I want to play skeptic for you here, because I know what you might be thinking listening to this. If AI is advancing so rapidly that it's outpacing our ability to train human workers, why is the AI simultaneously stuck at this 80% ceiling?
That's a great question.
Like, if AI can write complex code and pass the bar exam, why hasn't it just figured out the remaining 20% of how to run a power plant on its own?
What's fascinating here is that the remaining 20% isn't about raw data.
Oh, really?
No, it's not something an AI model can just scrape from the internet, read on Wikipedia, and synthesize. That final 20% is made up of deeply specialized, incredibly context-heavy institutional knowledge.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, the press release clarifies that generic AI is designed for generalized applications. It's a jack of all trades by design.
Right, like a really smart generalist.
Exactly. It's not architected for specialized, high-risk, precision-focused environments where context is literally everything.
So, like, generic AI knows a little bit about the general physics of thermodynamics, right? But it doesn't know the exact quirk of a specific aging pressure valve in a specific energy plant in Ohio.
Precisely. And that brings us right back to the 50% of the workforce that is currently retiring.
Oh, right, the people who actually know about that specific valve in Ohio.
Yes. When those skilled workers walk out the door over the next 5 to 7 years, they take with them decades of unwritten experiential knowledge.
The stuff that isn't in any manual.
Exactly. This is the gut instinct. It's the muscle memory. It's the nuanced understanding of how a piece of machinery actually sounds right before it overheats versus how the manufacturer's blueprint says it should operate.
Wow. Yet generic AI
Yeah.
hasn't learned that experiential knowledge because it isn't written down anywhere to be learned.
Exactly.
And static manuals can't teach it to the incoming generation of workers
Yes.
because you can't put a 30-year gut instinct into a 3-ring binder.
You really cared.
You can't capture that subtle vibration a mechanic feels in their boots when a turbine is off balance and just hand that feeling to a 22-year-old on their first day.
And that is the exact capability divide organizations are desperately struggling to close right now. The pace of technological transformation is blistering, and the brain drain is severe.
Yeah.
The traditional method of upskilling, taking a new hire, putting them in a classroom for 2 weeks, giving them a PDF, and basically hoping they figure out the rest on the floor,
Good luck.
right? It simply cannot scale to meet the demand. The math does not work when half your experts are gone.
So now that we understand the ticking clock here, and we understand why generic AI hits a wall at 80%, we need to look at how EON AI Ventures actually proposes to solve this bottleneck.
Because they do have a proposed solution.
Yeah, they aren't just pointing out the problem in this press release. They claim to have built the specific architecture to fix it, capturing this human expertise before it walks out the door forever. They call this their 1% solution framework.
And the stated goal of this framework is incredibly bold. They aren't aiming to push that 80% up to 90 or 95.
No.
No, the source says the goal is to ensure 100% workforce readiness and mastery to achieve that absolute zero margin for error reality.
And they say they do this through a continuous loop, right? Like a specific life cycle broken down into 4 stages. Learn, train, perform, and automate.
That's the framework, yes.
So let's look at how they actually execute this, starting with what they call knowledge capture for retiring experts. The source says this feature dynamically codifies institutional expertise into AI-driven training solutions.
Sounds very technical.
Right, but how do you actually codify a gut instinct? This is where the background of the company becomes crucial. The leadership behind EON AI Ventures comes from EON Reality.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and they bring 25 years of experience in immersive learning and XR, which is extended reality.
And that background in extended reality is the absolute linchpin of this entire operation. They aren't a text-based, large language model company just randomly trying to pivot to manufacturing.
Right, they aren't just a chatbot company.
Exactly. 25 years of immersive learning means they understand how to capture spatial, physical, and highly complex procedural knowledge.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about what XR actually allows us to do here. We aren't just having the veteran factory worker sit at a keyboard and type out a list of instructions for the new guy.
No, that would never work.
The technology allows you to put that veteran in a spatial computing headset. They go out onto the actual factory floor and just perform their job.
Wow.
And the system maps the physical space in 3 dimensions. It tracks their eye movements, like where exactly do they look when a warning light flashes?
It sees what they see.
Yeah. It tracks the micro-hesitations they make with their hands before turning a critical dial. It literally digitizes their physical behavior and their spatial awareness.
It creates a volumetric recording of expertise. You are fundamentally taking what used to be static, unwritten knowledge locked inside a human skull and turning it into an active, scalable asset.
That's wild to think about.
It is. So instead of that veteran retiring and their knowledge just vanishing into thin air, their 30 years of experience is captured, codified, and turned into a dynamic, immersive training module.
It's essentially like giving the new worker an AI-powered mentor that possesses the exact muscle memory of the master craftsman who held the job before them.
That dynamic mentor approach is what makes the first two steps of their life cycle, the learn and train parts, actually viable.
Because it adapts.
Yeah, static manuals do not adapt to the learner, but an immersive, AI-driven environment can adapt, correct, and guide a new worker through a complex procedure in a safe, simulated environment until they completely master it.
But let's push this further, because capturing the knowledge and letting someone practice in a VR headset is only half the battle.
True.
A 22-year-old might completely ace the virtual module, but how do we guarantee they don't just freeze up when real sparks start flying on the actual manufacturing floor? Like, how does this translate to the physical worker on a random Tuesday afternoon?
That leap from simulation to reality brings us to the perform stage of the life cycle and what the source calls workforce performance verification.
Okay, verification.
Yeah, EON AI Ventures states that this feature ensures 100% proficiency through real-time verification and feedback systems.
So explain the mechanism of real-time verification for us. Because if I'm on the floor actually doing the job, how is the AI verifying me in real time without getting in my way? Like, I don't want a pop-up ad while I'm fixing a turbine.
Right, no pop-ups. Think of it like a digital exoskeleton for your decision-making.
Right.
The worker is using augmented reality or spatial computing while doing the actual task. Say they look at a complex panel of valves. The AI, which has been trained on the captured expertise of the veteran, overlays a digital highlight on the exact valve that needs to be turned.
Oh, wow. Right, in their field of vision.
Exactly. And as the worker reaches out and turns it, the system uses spatial tracking to confirm that the correct valve was turned to the correct degree in the correct sequence. It measures performance metrics right there on the job.
So it's basically the difference between reading a recipe book in your kitchen versus having a Michelin star chef physically standing over your shoulder, guiding your hands and stopping you right before you put too much salt in the pan.
That's a great way to put it.
The system verifies the proficiency instantly, which prevents the error before it can cascade into a massive safety incident.
Exactly. It highlights areas where a worker's time to proficiency is improving and actively mitigates risks where they might still have a knowledge gap.
That's huge.
It is. You don't have to wait for a supervisor to review the work 3 days later and realize a huge mistake was made. This drastically reduces the time to competency for a new hire, safely.
And that leads right into the final step of their life cycle, automation of routine knowledge work. The press release says this seamlessly converts the captured knowledge into automated workflows and decisions.
Right, the automate phase.
So once this system has learned the expert knowledge, trained the new worker, and verified the performance, the ultimate goal is to automate the routine parts of that work.
That is the logical conclusion of the entire framework. Once the AI knows how to execute the routine tasks with zero margin for error, it takes those tasks over completely.
And this is where I kind of have to step in and push back on the premise.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because whenever we hear the word automation, alarm bells just go off, right?
Yeah.
If we are capturing all this deeply human knowledge from the retiring experts, verifying it in real time with the new workers, and then aggressively automating the routine tasks, I mean, does this framework ultimately empower the human worker, or does it eventually just automate them out of the high-stakes environment entirely?
It's the classic fear.
Yeah, like, are these new hires essentially just training their own replacements?
This raises an important question, and it is arguably the central anxiety of the entire AI era right now. But according to the framework laid out in the source, the explicit goal here is elevation, not elimination.
Elevation, not elimination.
Yes. The press release states that by automating routine knowledge work, human experts are freed up to focus on higher-level problem solving.
Okay, elevation, not elimination. That sounds like fantastic corporate PR. But let's be real here. If the AI is verifying my every move in real time and taking over my routine tasks, isn't the AI essentially the boss?
I see where you're going with this.
And what happens to the entry-level jobs? Like, if AI does all the routine work, how do people learn the basics? You don't just walk into a nuclear power plant and start doing high-level anomaly resolution on day one. You have to start somewhere.
It is a profound shift in how careers will be structured, for sure. But in high-stakes environments, you will always have anomalies.
Right.
You will always have edge cases, system failures, and completely unexpected variables that require human judgment and adaptability. The AI handles the baseline operations, which reduces operational delays and human fatigue,
Right.
and that learn and train loop, that immersive simulation we discussed earlier.
Yeah, the VR headset stuff.
Right, that becomes the new crucible for entry-level learning. You master the basics in the simulation, verified by the AI, so that when you step onto the actual floor, you are immediately operating at a higher level of cognitive function.
So you skip the busy work phase of your career.
Essentially, yes. The AI isn't replacing the human's capacity for complex thought. It's clearing the busy work so the human can apply their judgment safely, right from the start.
Wait, I'm stuck on the logistics of actually rolling this out, though. If this requires such a fundamental shift, like installing spatial computing, real-time AI verification, massive data capture.
It's a heavy lift.
It is. Yeah. How does a company actually survive the transition period? You can't just hit pause on a national power grid or shut down a hospital network to install a massive AI overhaul.
That is a critical operational hurdle, and it is exactly why they do not attempt a hard cutover. They don't just flip a switch.
Okay.
EON AI Ventures separates this transition into two distinct platforms to ensure minimal disruption. The source notes they follow a phased approach. They start with knowledge capture and training pilots before ramping up to automation.
So what are the two platforms? Let's separate them so we don't get lost in all the tech jargon here.
Good idea. First, you have Virtual Campus or Virtual Compass. Think of this as the flight school.
Okay, flight school.
Yeah, it's the offline, immersive environment that enables the scalable training, certification, and knowledge transfer. This is where the learning happens without touching the live systems.
Got it. Safe environment.
Exactly. The second platform is the Enterprise AI platform. This is the co-pilot in the actual cockpit. It supports the operational intelligence and the workforce performance, so the real-time verification and automation side on the live floor.
Okay, that makes perfect sense, actually. One platform is for learning safely. The other is for executing perfectly.
Exactly.
They've built an entire ecosystem to bridge this gap without breaking the current infrastructure while they do it. There is a quote in the press release from Dan Lajerskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures, that sums up their entire ethos perfectly.
What is he?
He says, in industries where the margin for error is zero, achieving 80% just isn't good enough. At EON AI Ventures, we're ensuring that enterprise AI bridges the gap to 100% workforce performance.
It's a bold claim.
It really drives home the difference between the generic, sort of conversational AI tools we use on our phones and the precision enterprise AI required to keep the lights on and the planes in the sky.
It is a fundamentally different class of technology. Generic learning models simply cannot guarantee the safety, compliance, and precision targets required for industrial operations.
They just can't.
No. Crossing that final 1% is exponentially harder than getting to 80%, but it is the absolute only metric that matters when human lives are on the line.
So what does this all mean? Why does this matter to you listening to this right now? Even if you aren't managing an aviation grid or working in a nuclear power plant or performing complex surgery, you need to understand that the fundamental standard for upskilling across all industries is shifting beneath our feet.
The baseline expectation for human competency is fundamentally changing.
Exactly. We are moving entirely away from the era of reading static manuals and shadowing a senior employee for 6 months.
That's going away entirely.
Yeah, we are shifting toward interacting with codified, AI-driven institutional memory. The expectation for how quickly you or anyone else is supposed to become an absolute expert at a new job is about to drastically accelerate.
It's going to be rapid.
Right. If a company possesses a dynamic AI mentor that contains the perfect captured muscle memory of their best 30-year veterans, you won't be given 5 years to learn the ropes anymore. You will be expected to utilize that digital exoskeleton and hit 100% proficiency incredibly fast.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it leaves us with a truly fascinating intellectual property puzzle to consider.
Oh.
Yeah, think about it. The entire premise of this 1% solution framework relies on capturing the nuanced physical gut instinct and the lifetime experiential expertise of the best retiring workers, right?
Right.
And codifying it into a proprietary AI model. So if an enterprise successfully maps the eye movements, the muscle memory, and the physical instincts of a master craftsman who ultimately owns that digitized intuition a decade from now.
Oh, wow.
Is the intellectual property owned by the human worker who lived it, learned it, and developed that physical intuition over 30 years of sweat? Or does that entirely human instinct become the legal property of the enterprise the moment it is captured and turned into an automated workflow?
That is a completely unmapped frontier of business and intellectual property. Who holds the rights to a digitized gut instinct?
The question we'll have to answer soon.
That is a wild thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep questioning the world around you. Keep looking for the mechanics of how these technologies actually work. And remember, the next time you get on a commercial flight, be very glad that the people landing that plane are held to a 100% standard and not just good enough. See you next time.